Hi there, it's the 2nd of May at BeCollaboration's Journey of Possibility podcast with Erkan Ali and Gill Tiney. And it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We've just been sitting watching a good video. Many of you will have heard us speak about Peter Joseph before. If you haven't, go and look him up. And he birthed the Zeitgeist movement.
Yeah. He did the Zeitgeist, and then he did a series of Zeitgeist films, and then he did the Culture in Decline series, and then spawned, I suppose, the Zeitgeist movement and resource-based economy ideas. And we just watched a video because he's kind of quite an insightful Q&A around what it's been taking him to be part of the movement and how it's held him accountable. And look, what we're doing isn't easy.
Well, there's a lot of similarities, isn't there? I kind of feel his pain where he's been over the last 9 years, and where we are with what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, and what we have achieved along the way. And I think you were identifying quite clearly that my stance on where we are is me setting myself up for a fall because I'm using my standards but we haven't got as far as we could have done, rather than look how far we have come. And when you think 2 years ago we had one group, 2 years ago we probably had about 15-20 members, and we didn't have a British Standard, and we didn't have a journal, and we didn't have a Be Inspired probably at that point, and when you forget how much you've actually put into play. The quest, there's so many. The websites. Yeah. And the people that have been through the whole system and have actually personally thanked us, or we've seen improvements in, or we've seen them change as people, or even if they've only been with us for 6 months and have moved on to something else, have actually been grateful and thankful.
I'm just going to turn this around so we can see what we're doing.
See who we're talking to.
Yeah. So, I guess today I want to inject some energy into this, because I think, as human beings, we have ups, we have downs, we have... I suppose for me, the worst is when I'm middling, like when I'm kind of plateauing.
Yeah.
And I'm flatlining, I'm not up, I'm not down, I don't get down, but I kind of don't fly as high as I can sometimes, And I notice that I kind of take my foot off the pedal a bit. And, Beiju today posted something, I can't remember what he said, so I apologise, Beiju, if I got it wrong, but it's something about how are you making your impact on the world. I think it was that kind of question. And I kind of wrote something, I went, no, that's not it. And I just wrote, wake people up and then empower them. Because I think there is so much pulling for human beings to just sell out on themselves, sell out on their vision, sell out on their passion. Our socialising and our education system doesn't pull for greatness. It pulls for...
Okay-ish.
Well, it pulls...
Good enough.
Well, not disagreeing, that's not what I was going to say. I think it pulls for obedience, it pulls for standardisation, it pulls for not sticking out. It pulls for being part of the herd. And if you stand out of the herd, you're vulnerable, or you're going to get ridiculed, or you're going to get laughed at, or you're going to get possibly attacked in some way, shouted down, or so the pull is it's like the herd all pulling in and disappearing, like safety in numbers. But what I really wanted to kind of come back to is 2 years ago that didn't exist. 3 or 5 weeks ago that didn't exist. And this is our journal, and part of the way I've been using my journal, well, how you use a journal is however you want to use it, but for me I've been, writing things down, making notes, some things that we use the journals in the collaborated meetings to kind of really keep the value. It's like my membership proposition of being part of BeColl is a no-brainer. The ROI, the return on investment is huge. It's huge. Mark Nild's Know and Be Known last week in London, I was like, what? It's not like... There was things he said that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not the accumulation of something you don't know. It's when you're sitting around people and you're going, yeah, it's possible. I can go do that. Or I can open that conversation up. Or I can take that to the next level. And imagine, if you're listening to the podcast, and we know people are. Both of you. Thanks, Mum. It's you know, there'll be something that you're doing that feels very difficult, very, you know, especially if you want to do something great. It almost seems impossible, you know. And the line, is it? I don't know. Is it Gandhi's line, or you know, you think it's impossible until it's done?
Yeah.
Is it Gandhi's line?
I don't know.
I'm quoting people, but don't. There is a disclaimer here. No accuracy in what I'm quoting. But the sentiment is, if you're doing something really worthwhile, it feels almost impossible all the time. I think, you know, sorry.
No, go on.
No, I'm not sorry. But it's kind of like, whatever you're dealing with right now, whatever level of performance you've got, or whatever level of fulfillment, that is just an outcome of something that may be invisible right now. Taking yourself onto the next level calls for what's next. Calls for what's next. And, you know, I sometimes be like, oh, I wish I could be around other people who are up to something, who are really, I'm like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Do you not think BeCollaboration gives members and us permission to be brave?
Yes.
It's the perfect space for like, oh, I'm not sure of it. Well, don't think about it anymore. This is the place to play, to come and say what you want to say. Oh, I think I want to write a book. Oh, say it out loud, and there'll be a group of people that are going to help you do that. Whatever it happens to be, that's the place to be brave.
It's like a baby crying for something. Yeah, I want it. Yeah, I want it. Yeah, and you give it to them, they go, oh, now what? Okay. You know, it's like sometimes people just want something that they can't get, or don't want something they can't get.
Or I've never spent enough time thinking about what do I really want, and that's part and parcel of what that's about.
That's
as
a whole different kettle of fish, though, isn't it? Yeah, like really sitting down and asking yourself, well, what is my life for? What is my life for? You stop me in the street, wake me up at 3 in the morning, I'll go, you know, wake people up and empower them. Wake people up and empower them. You know, that's it. Wake people up. And people say, wake up. What do I mean by wake up? Wake people up. Well, to the programming. You know, to the conditioning. If you've gone through a standard education system, you come into a money system that's already there before it's like the fish in the water. You don't know that you don't know what, there's something that's been put there that's man-made.
If you've never questioned anything that's around you, then you're still asleep.
You're in the system. Yeah. And then you go through media. I mean, right now the media is like, it's... I mean, you know, obviously at the level of consciousness that I'm at right now, I look at the media a different way. You know, I've always been there. But I remember growing up and thinking to myself, you know, like you put the new... Back, who remembers back when you had 3 channels, you know, BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV?
That's funny you say that. There's a TV programme on, I think it was last night or the night before, about life in the 80s. And early 1980s, not that long ago, early 1980s there were only 3 channels.
3 channels?
And what they were showing you, clip after clip after clip of being politically incorrect and racist and sexist and everything is, and it was like...
I saw a clip the other day, of Mind Your Language.
Oh,
do you remember Mind Your Language?
Yeah.
You know, and
all you're like... them are so bad.
Yeah, and you think that was the common consciousness.
But then that's good when you consider how far we've come in relation to that, where it's just not acceptable anymore for that kind of conversation. I mean, what was...
On the buses?
Yeah, what was that comedian who was always racist and sexist and there's basically he wouldn't get airtime.
Chubby Brown? No, not Chubby Brown.
Big lad, northerner, I can't remember his name now. But anyway, it's just so many people just wouldn't... Now there are comedians that are offensive out there, but there's still a point of nobody crosses that line anymore. You know, there's sort of certain places where people don't go. So, and looking back to the 80s, and they really let that be on TV. You know, it's like, it was crazy. One of them was Blue Peter. It was just, there was a whole section on women's undergarments through the ages, and had these young girls wearing corsets and things. And the 3 TV presenters were sitting there going, I can't believe we did that. They literally saw themselves doing the thing. And they're like, oh my goodness, we did that.
Someone had to pass it by someone.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess what I'm saying is that you are where you are, and I think the tendency can be sometimes to think that you've arrived or you've peaked, and we all want to peak, don't we? We all want to kind of get to a point where I know it all now.
No, I don't think so. Do you think? No, I was saying to you earlier, I always want to have that next thing to look to go for, to aim for, to...
No, but I'm talking about if you're in the programme.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, because I think the programming does train us to become just sophisticated consumers on the whole and believe what we're told. You know, like what's happening in the Middle East or what's happening in Korea, or, you know, it's like you got even the fact you're calling news. You know, even the fact we call it news. I mean, now with all this alternative media and you can, you know, the access to esoteric knowledge now is quite incredible. And who knows? That's probably in some kind of bubble.
Do you know many people that do watch the news though?
Yeah.
Do you think? Is it still the masses? Because most people I know go on and watch news for years.
Oh wait, but hold on. But if they're not watching mainstream news, what are they watching?
Well, how are they getting their...
Yeah, so or are they reading the paper,
social media, isn't it?
Or they got the radio on.
I think the newspapers went before the TV news went.
Yeah, but it's still out there. You know, I still have people say, I haven't heard it for a while, but people say, oh, it's in the sun. Oh, so sorry. You know, so I guess, you know, today's podcast is, I think the theme for me for today is what it takes to fulfil on things that seem beyond your capabilities. And what are you using or how are you influencing that? You know, whether it's people around you, resources, you know, you've already got all the resources you need, you know, and anything you haven't got, you can get hold of. Yeah. And it's being that rather than thinking that, maybe. You know, like oh, what, you know, one avenue's closed, I'll go around another way. You know, it's like, you know, you don't see any stoppers. It's actually, sometimes those walls are the way, you know, they signpost the way forward. Because if you crack that, then there's the next thing you've got to crack. So you're never going to crack it, whatever it is.
Have you seen, as a comparison to that a visual comparison, is that game in America where it's like the ultimate obstacle course, where it's designed, and usually it's guys that do it, and they're jumping over this and they're climbing up walls and they're doing all this you know, physical fitness, and you do it in a certain amount of time. And you see these really big guys trying to falling at the first hurdle and not managing it, or getting all the way there and then not climbing up the wall, to the extent that there's a tube and they have to pull themselves up just by their hands and their feet, and it's like 15, 20 feet tall. So if you get nearly to the top and you fall, you're going to hurt yourself. And they look at it and no, he doesn't do it, no, he doesn't do it. Oh, one guy does it, yay, and he's the world record holder, yay. And then one time they did it and there was this like 4'11" girl who was tiny, no muscles whatsoever. And she went, doop, 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 doop. She made it look so easy.
I've seen her do it.
So easy, and it's like you're watching, going, is she? Isn't she? But she just like, and she was a gymnast, and that was her training in that. And she said that she never thought she couldn't do it. She just knew that that's. So I think a lot of where we are today is we've come across in life in general. It's like, oh no, I can't do that. Oh, it's too hard. I'm going to give up. And we're complacent, and it's like, oh, does it matter? No, I don't need to do that. And a lot of people are used to not trying, not really giving it a go, not off.
Do you think that's a lack of executing, a lack of self-belief? Do you think people feel like they need to be given permission? Is there something you're sitting on right now that you're waiting for someone to go ahead, do it, or someone, I don't know, like you may have a job and you think, like, I'll quit my job to go and do something, so I can't quit my job. Yeah. I've heard people say to me, oh, I'm waiting to be made redundant, so I'm going to do what I really want. I'm like, well, how long are you going to wait? Maybe 18 months. Yeah. 18 months. Imagine how far you get if you left now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I get that's scary. I get that that's scary. But at the same time, isn't it scarier not doing it? It's like, you know, when I was at home with the kids and it's like, what do I want to do? And maybe teaching. And it took a lot of hurdles to get there. I did my degree because they won't let you teach kids without a degree. So I did that in 2.5 years instead of 5 years. I did it part-time while I was doing the business and you know, Brown and Tiny business, and doing working as well part-time as a teaching assistant, and had 2 kids and had parents that weren't well and had to buy a house for them and all sorts of things that were going on. If I look back at then what I did, I would never have done it. If I knew at the beginning of that.
If you think things through too much, you would never do it.
Well, exactly. But at the end, all I was doing was this a means to an end here, and this is what I have to do in order to do what I want to do. And then when I actually got to do it, I realised that doing the teaching was the fun bit, but there was too much crap around the outside for it to actually be fun enough for me to carry on. So I ended up not carrying on.
I've got a question, Gill Tiney.
Yes.
What are you not doing right now that you could be doing?
What am I not doing that I could be doing?
What could you take on that you haven't taken on? Or, maybe more courageous, what could you stop doing?
I was just going to say that. It's probably more to it that I should be stopping something. Because that's my default setting when people go, do you fancy it? Yep, go for it. What, you don't know what it is yet? I'm like, oh, come on. And I want to do everything. I want to do everything. And then what happens is you do 90% of it poorly and 10% of it okay. Probably what I need to do is drop 50% of what I'm doing in order to be more effective. We've been
playing with the notion of bite small, chew long. You know, reference to how do you eat an elephant, right?
Yeah.
how do you eat an elephant? We eat a little bit at a time, right? But I think sometimes we bite off more than we can chew, and then you're biting off, and then you're leaving bits unchewed, rather than saying, right, I'm going to bite that bit, and I'm going to chew it until it's done, like properly done. Yeah. And maybe you can start nibbling on something else during that, but actually to have the courage to say, just because you could or it's possible, should you? You know, and I think that's a good way of diffusing your effectiveness. I mean, that's something I'm learning because, you know,
we're both
very similar in that respect. And I think it's like, you want to be part of what's possible. But sometimes it's actually the opposite that's going to make that more effective. Is choosing your battle. I don't know the word battle.
And I think
choosing your
knowing what your end goal is, and not goal as in this is my achievement, but what's the purpose of doing this thing? So, for example, the purpose of doing this took me a long time to get done, but the purpose was for the benefit of the collaborators.
To empower them.
Yeah, so to me, it was a damn good reason to do it. So everything else got shelved while I got that finished. But if there'd been no purpose behind it, if I'd done it with they might like it, they might find it useful, it might be something that's lovely, then I never would have got it finished because it wouldn't have been important enough to me. So once I had my reason there, it's like generally before BeCollaboration came along, my reason for doing anything was my kids. I can do anything. You ask me to climb a mountain, if it has to be for those, I will do it. Ask me to climb a mountain for you, sorry, it's not going to happen. So, but it's
small mate.
It's knowing that
grassy knoll.
Anthill, I can do that.
Couple of stairs, no. Yeah. So maybe that's how you justify doing it. Maybe sometimes it's about devolving it to something else. You know, like sometimes you sell out yourself, but you won't sell out your kids, type of thing.
Yeah. But that's me personally, and I know that's what is my driver. I can move a mountain for somebody else, providing the reason for me is good enough. And I think a lot of people, when we say they've got an idea or a thought, and I go, brilliant, off you go do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, but I'm really busy. What are you busy with? Well, if you're busy going to the gym, fair enough. If you're busy training for a London Marathon, well, that's a different choice, isn't it? That's a choice for you, and that's an achievement that you want to have, and you're choosing to do that over that. So if you've made a suggestion that's something that is going to be a great thing for you, you've got to connect into your reason for doing it, otherwise it ain't going to get done. And I think a lot of people use excuses to let themselves off the hook, because they know there's a good reason.
I remember I heard a long time ago, I don't know if it was actually attributed to Tony Robbins, but you know, people aren't lazy, they just don't have goals that inspire them. Or they don't have,
got to get excited.
I think you got to be passionate, you got to feel worthwhile about something, because it occupies your mind, it fills your heart, it gets you imagining things, you're starting to think ahead, if I did this then I did that. There's a certain energy that goes with that. You know, there's a certain energy when someone's connected to that source, you know, for themselves, whatever that might be. And I think, for me, I spent a long time trying to work out what that was. You know, and I went through loads of different stages. I thought it was business for a while, and I thought it was, you know, and then different types of businesses, because sometimes, it's not this kind of business, I want to be that kind of business. You know, and I realised, actually, I love business. I do enjoy it. And I also want to make a difference. And I also want to pick it up. And I also am a researcher. So I think we're all paradoxes, we're all contradictions. It's not like, this is who I am and that's it.
No.
It's actually, we play many, many roles. And those roles, the expression of what those roles are, I'm a friend, we play many roles.
Yeah.
You know. So I've got a question. In the last 2 weeks, what's been your biggest learning? Because it's been 2 weeks since we did the last one. Good or bad?
I think be kind to yourself. I think my upbringing, my learning through my family, education, whatever, has been head down, battle through, get on with it. You don't stop for no one. You know, good work ethic. That's what everyone talks about, and that's ingrained in me. So for me to be ill and go, do you know what? That's it. Shut the door, turn the phone off. I'm ill. I ain't doing anything. So I had a good 10 days of feeling crap, but I didn't feel guilty about it.
Really?
Really, yeah. I didn't care.
Because I think when we spoke a couple of times on the phone, I said, just take a day off.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I could feel a bit of resistance though, because it is, isn't it? You've been told you've got to be working every day, productive, and then you deserve.
And you get your laptop. You're sitting in bed, and you've got your tissues and everything, and you've got your laptop open. You're like, it's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Put it to one side, and I just, and I think probably I've heard lots of people have said, oh, I've had that thing that you've had, and they've taken 2-3 weeks to recover. Right. And I'm out of it in 10 days, so I still feel like I've got an achievement.
So you want another 5 days off?
Yeah.
Basically.
Please, all right.
Did you watch the film My Dinner with Andre?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I would never have done that. I never would have done that had I not been ill. So that was a luxury. I had time to sit and watch that. I've got a feeling I've seen it before. 1981.
Yeah, 81. I can't remember the actors' names.
Wallace Shawn. I can't remember the other guy.
Is that the bald one?
Yeah.
Because he's in. He's a writer as well. The Princess Bride.
Yes,
as well.
That's his big thing.
That's the Princess Bride.
I did a little bit of research.
Inconceivable.
He's done a lot of stuff. He's done.
Never go into it. Was it Battle with a Sicilian?
I don't think I've seen all the Princess Bride.
No, the Princess Bride.
Is it on my list of books?
What did you make of it though? Because I remember I mentioned it quite a few times. I put clips up before and.
It's interesting because I read some of the reviews before I watched the film, and it's like, oh, if you don't like it in the first 15 minutes, turn it off, and I got bored, and blah, blah, blah. But actually, it doesn't get going for the first half an hour, does it? In the first 15 minutes, they're kind of setting it up, but in a really boring way. It was just, I could go, oh wow, this is. But as soon as they got into it, it was like I was sat at the table with them.
I was fascinated from the start.
Were you? Okay.
But I didn't read the reviews.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated because the pace is very non.
Well, considering the 80s, I mean, it was totally different to what was out there at the time.
Imagine 81, it was probably like the fallout of the late 70s, mid-70s, wasn't it? By the time you get to make a film, write a script, get the funding, whatever it is. And then just two people sitting in a restaurant while the waiters are coming and going, and there's all the little clinky clanky, and the little clinky clanky of.
You know what I noticed that Alan would have been annoyed with? Not once did they say thank you to that waiter for serving them their food.
How rude!
It is rude.
Well, they're too busy trying to remember their lines.
Yeah, is it lines? I wonder how much was improvised.
Oh, I bet a lot of it.
Yeah.
Is there any bits of it that really stand out for you? That stood out for you? Because I've seen it a few times.
I like the fact that no matter how surreal and way out the stories were for the other guy whose name I can't remember, Wally still just sat there taking it all in. He wasn't perturbed by it, he wasn't put off by it, he wasn't shuffling in his seat ready to go. He just was like fascinated. Yeah, totally engaged. And some of the stuff that he was talking about, like being buried alive and things, and you're like, wow, it must have been the 70s, all that era of let's try something different, let's try something new, and let's kind of explore. And that this guy had the opportunity to go to different countries and try out different ways of thinking and being and seeing. And
it's almost like he broke out of the program.
He took himself out, didn't he?
Brought himself out of the program, went off into this discovery, and then come back and shared the knowledge and the wisdom and what he'd learned. And the thing was, I got about. I can't remember. He was a director, wasn't he, in the film? A theatre director, if I'm right. And he was alive. I kind of got about him that he was alive, and the other was in survival mode.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not. There's nothing. I've broken out of this matrix, and he was like fascinated. Everything from an acorn tree to acorn to whatever. But the bit that I suppose I'm asking you the question, was the bit I wanted to talk about, was the bit where he says, well, imagine if it was 1939 and he was in Germany, and it was just pre Second World War, and you knew it was time to leave, and yet you don't leave.
Yeah.
And this idea that we're all prisoners, and we built the prison, and we are the guards of the prison we're in.
The classic example as well is the Siege of Leningrad. I just read a book about Shostakovich. He didn't go, and it's like, why would you not leave? Well, his family was here, and this is his piano where he was composing, and then he would compose under the table while all the bombs are going on, and it's like, because this was his space for creativity, so his genius wouldn't allow him to leave, because it's like, well, this is where my safety zone is.
But what about, okay, I could get that with, say, like a prominent musician or a composer or whatever that's termed, but most people don't have that kind of real kind of real passion why they can't leave where they are. I mean, I proposed recently to ours what it would be like if we sold up and went. A friend of mine who lives in France said to me he's just bought an RV and he's going to basically spend his life travelling.
Wow.
I'm like, great, I'm so inspired by that. And the thought of just breaking out of the mortgage-based living. Because I reckon partly why everybody's so busy, and going back to BeCollaboration and this idea of people fulfilling their dream. What, are you mad? I've had clients say to me, I said, what's your passion? Are you mad? Passion? I've got wages to pay every month. I'm in survival. You know, the system doesn't pull for your dreams, it pulls for your complicity. And lately in the genius slots, as you know, I've been calling people accountable for their own complicity in the way the world is, rather than sitting back and go, well, what can I do about it? It's not down to me. Oh, I'll go and vote. We'll talk about that in a sec, right? But there's a lot of action. There's a lot of activity required outside of those main point-to-point actions, like I'll go and vote on this day. Like I've done my bit now. Like I'm absolved. Well, I voted for Corbyn. You know, you look at the people who voted for Obama, and then suddenly they've got Trump. You know, at some point they're going to get rid of Trump. There'll be someone. It's like, you know, the whole thing is kind of, your will to make a difference is right now. There's an urgency.
Okay, so what if everybody had your thought and decided to sell up and get their RV and create more ozone problems and go try? You know, it's not for everybody, is it?
Well, no, but what would be their version of that? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just. I don't know.
Some people are content doing the 9 to 5.
Are they?
But some are, because it's security. They know where they stand. They like reliability. They like knowing what's happening. They don't like the unpredictable. It's left brain scenario, isn't it? That's what makes them feel safe.
But that's what I'm saying.
They
Safety,
like voting Labour or voting Conservative. They like to have to go.
Safety and compliance is where the controlling interests want people. Pay your taxes, shut their up and go and watch a movie.
Well, some people, they don't need much convincing, is what
No,
I'm saying.
no, they don't need much convincing. They've been programmed for that.
Yeah, but also I think people would choose that even if they hadn't been programmed. I think there are people out there.
How can you say that?
Because it's the law of averages, isn't it? There are going to be so many percent are going to want to be like being the activist and anarchist and let's go off and do something totally different. I've had enough of this, I'm off. And there's some that are going to be like, I don't like this, I'm going to fight and I'm going to cause a revolution. And the others are like, what are you talking about? This is fine, it's fine, it's okay. It's always going to be. That's just
I don't know you anymore.
You look back over society and you look back to the beginning of man. This has always been the case. If you look at the,
I think the default for human being is to be a slave, and we like to be slaves. We like to be.
Well, it's a very emotive word, that slave, isn't it?
I'm saying slave.
And
for
I think,
reason.
yeah, but I think as well, you're only a slave in your head anyway, aren't you? So. Even if it's been proven, Viktor Frankl and Corrie ten Boom and all those kind of people, they were free even though they were captives because they chose to be free. So I think there are a lot of people that are slaves in your use of the word, but are happy as pigs in shit. Because that's what they like. They like the predictability. They like reliability. They were happy to do 40 years at the same job, day in, day out, to get their gold carriage clock at the end of it. And that made them happy. And then they were without a job, they were retired, and then, I might as well die, there's nothing else going on. And they keel over. I know, but there are people out there, I'm telling you. Please write in, somebody. There are people out there that like.
If you're one of those people, please write in. PO box.
Yeah, put it on a postcard. But
okay, I think what you're saying is the conditioning is that powerful that people are actually complacent or content within that model. There are people who live by that model and are happy and I'm not going to use such more conflicting language, edgy language like complicit.
No.
But they'll play along because actually the conditioning's worked. You know, how many teachers go to teach every day, like you just said, are not happy with the way teaching has come, they're not happy with the standardisation, they're not happy with the curriculum, but their love for children means they'll sell out on all of that, and then you get comfortable, and then you get a mortgage, and then you've got car payments, and you want to go on holiday, and then it's the weekend, and you get to live a life that's okay. You're not in poverty, you're not going hungry.
It's not till you hit 50 you start questioning it, really. That's when the what's the expressions?
Shit hits the fan?
No, not that one. That's when people start thinking, why? Why am I doing this?
What's
it
my
all
life
for? Yeah, what's it all for? That's when they realise that there has been that element of conditioning. But until that point, they're happy as Larry. You know, you go and you see people who are... Now, who did I hear? There was a road sweeper on...
Back this from 15 years.
It was on pop quiz. What's it called? The Radio 2, Ken Bruce pop quiz, whatever it's called. And he was doing the questions, and they had a little chat before and a little chat afterwards. And I thought, there sounds a really happy man. Really happy man. And he was in his 30s, he had young kids, he was a road sweeper, he had a good team that he worked with, they had a laugh, they had fun. You know, that's it. Maybe when he's 50, he'll turn around and go, is this all I wanted in my life? And some people are more than happy. And that, to me, is the secret of life, because you found out what you're happy at. You do what you need to do to get an income. And being dissatisfied with where you are in any area of your life is where unhappiness reigns, isn't it? So then you've got to take action and do something about it. But if you're happy doing what you're doing, no matter what it is, whether it's being a high finance corporate guy or whether it's being a guy that sweeps the roads, if you've sussed out how that makes you happy, are you a slave?
I don't know, Jill. You got me thinking.
Good. I can see it happening. Just a little glow going on. What causes unhappiness is when people knuckle down and think that's all there is to it, and this is their lot, and they have to put up with it.
But you could still be a slave and happy.
What's your definition of a slave?
Well, I've not necessarily my definition of a slave, but definitions I've heard is where you're no longer in charge of your life.
So if you're choosing...
You're beholden. Yeah, exactly.
If you're choosing to do what you do, and you're happy doing that, then you're not a slave.
No. Maybe happiness is part of the equation, but then you could still be... It's like when you devolve your power to something.
Yes. That's not right.
Not right or wrong, but just slave. You know.
If you don't get to choose... I mean, if you've got a job as an accountant, and you're really, really good at it, but actually it's not making you happy, you're a slave, because you could choose to do something else that is making you happy.
But you can't. Because you've invested all that time in being an accountant. Everyone knows you're an accountant now, so there's a whole social kind of expectation.
Yeah.
I know an accountant recently sold out his shares in his business, and he's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do next.
Good for him.
So
therefore he's not a slave?
No.
No, exactly. So it's the choice thing that... And that's
I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think what's dawned on that guy is he's had years and years of that programming, and slowly has woken up to actually there's more to my life.
Yeah, it's been tough for him to kind of find a way out, isn't it?
Well, he's got out, but he doesn't know what his life's about.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredible. That, to me, is waking someone up and then empowering them. I mean, I've been involved in that journey, so I know a bit more about it than probably just someone I know, right? And to me, that is inspiring. That is really inspiring. You know, to see somebody take their life in their own hands. I'm like, well, power to you. And that's not comfortable. Going to work every week, every day, and earning more than enough to make your living and do all the things you need to do. And
even the wonderful things you can do with that money won't be enough compensation for the miserable time you have to spend at work.
Doing something you don't love.
And even, it's not necessarily even something you don't love. It can be something you're really, really good at, but it just doesn't excite you or doesn't energise you. Or
what do you think you go through phases? Maybe something was exciting and enjoyable, and then you plateaus, and then you kind of...
Do you not go through like a 7-year cycle that every 7 years you're kind of looking around and sniffing around for the next thing that is going to excite you? Because you do so much in a certain area and you go, okay, well, been there now.
Well, I'm starting new things all the time, so I don't have about a 7-year cycle, but an 18-month cycle.
Well, look, I'm just from hindsight.
9 months.
I'm looking back. 9 months cycle.
Well, I think so.
But looking back on my life, I can see a sort of 7-year, and it's not happened on purpose, but it's just looking back in hindsight, I can go, oh yeah. That was around about 7 years when I changed. No, 7 years when I changed.
Maybe that correlates with, that every cell in your body is replaced within 7 years or something like that.
Maybe.
So who's sitting here now those physical cells weren't in your body 7 years ago.
That's true.
So they're recycling.
Yeah.
But what's left? But seriously, what's left is your decisions, your conclusions about things, your experiences, your memories. Think every moment, now's a memory. That last clap was a memory now. It's gone. It's in history. It will never relive that. We'll have another moment, but that moment's gone. But we live like that. All those moments really count. They make for something, or they justify something. Why I didn't, or why I could have done, or I should have done, or why did I do it again? Whatever it is, right? And all of those things, I think, about having the wherewithal to reassess your life in the most empowered way. Because we're talking. This is all in the journey of possibility, right? This isn't the journey of probability. Or the journey of doom.
No, don't. This is the thing that gets me, is so many people... we had an email recently from some guys that wanted to do something within BeCollaboration, and I was like, well, what about this? And it was like 3 emails going, nope. And I'm like, where is the possibility in this? It's like, take the information and turn it into something that's a positive and a way forward, rather than the default factor of, oh no, I can't make that day, oh no, I can't do it that way, oh no, it's not possible. And I just read it in a really depressed way, and I was, whether it's where I was at the time, but it just came across as defeatist. It's like, listen guys, you've had a really good idea here, don't fall at the first hurdle.
But we show that, we show an ovary, egg, what do they call them? Ovum? Yeah. We show an ovum and a sperm in our introduction, and the idea is that collaboration is like that egg and sperm coming together, that moment where something starts.
Yeah.
And quite often people have an idea or have an insight or a moment of inspiration. You know what, we could, and you should, and we could, yeah, let's do it. And then it's like there's this peak moment, and then boom, nothing happened. And you say to people, so what happens after? Oh yeah, blah, didn't get back to me. And however we justify whether those things happen or not is quite interesting to me. It's actually if you treat that thing like like a baby's just been conceived, you don't just walk away. You stay there until it's walking, and then you stay there until it's fed enough, and you just nurture it. And maybe in some ways you never really rid yourself of that child. You'll always be a father or a mother to that child. But the things are, I wonder how many great, really awesome things could come into people's lives that they just don't nurture that, or they don't. I don't know what the word is. Nurture's a good word.
You kind of have to keep watering it, don't you?
Yeah, what would you call that?
Nurture it, yeah.
Yeah, look after it, feed it, grow it to a point where suddenly there's, it's duplicated and there's more, and you start to build something up. And that stage is a really challenging stage because there's no result. And it takes courage to keep going even though there's no result. And I think quite often we're not always the best people to judge what the result is and isn't. Especially if you're doing something that's quite different and quite unique. Is actually having the conviction to keep going, because I think that's partly the universe saying, well, how bad do you want it?
Yeah, going back to 1939, would you up sticks?
Well, right now, I've noticed a number of people saying it looked like it could all go off in World War III right now. Where do you go? Where do you go? And that was the question in my dinner of Andre. Where did you go?
Apparently, you're going to Wales.
Wales.
I'm going to Dublin.
Okay, so anything else? What you got in mind? What else did we write about earlier?
Well, Peter Joseph was talking about cause and effect, and if you're out of line with nature. That's interesting, isn't it? So you've got a test bed already when you think about it, haven't you? If it doesn't feel right to you, people talk about intuition and gut feeling and all the rest of it. So maybe you can test the temperature of what's going on in society by nature. I don't know.
Well, it's something about being true to nature in a sense of, I hear that in what works. Like I suppose if you're doing something that actually is forwarding things rather than taking away.
Well, it goes back to the flow, isn't it? If you're in your flow, it's easy.
Yeah.
If everything's going and it's working and the collaboration is working and whatever is working, when it's easy, job done. It's, piece of cake. But it's when it's actually, that's interesting, because when it's clunky and when it's not working, it doesn't mean to say it's wrong. It just means to say you've got to come at it from a different way of working together. So different collaborations that can happen I've noticed that sometimes it can be a bit clunky. I mean, even going back to last summer with the board and the things that were happening there, it didn't make it wrong that it didn't work out. It just meant that we had a lot to learn from, and we started in a different direction, a slightly different way. So I think when you're in your flow, it's a lovely feeling and it's meant to be and it's a good thing to do. But actually, if it's clunky, that's when you learn the most about yourself as well as other people. Personally. I think the other thing that came out of Peter was he says you should have the right infrastructure for open source. And one of the things that we say in BeCollaboration is, you know, if you've got a great idea and you want to do something to support and help BeCollaboration, it's like, you know, come on, you don't need us necessarily to move it forward. You know, if you've got that idea, test the water and see if you can go and run with it.
I've been thinking, because I designed a program called the Be Inspired program. We've delivered about 10 of them. I don't keep count, so I don't know. But I wanted to design the follow-on program called Resilient, which is my idea of what I think what skills, if you like, or accesses people need in a world that is gone that's going the way it's going.
We're all exhausted. I mean, the bottom line, it's...
Well, and there's just this whole term about hypernormalisation. There's a film called Adam Curtis's film. It's on BBC, Hypernormalisation. It's like there's all these terms about fake news and disinformation, and it's like, well, how do you really come to if you're going to be resilient in the world, in the information age. Right, in the information age, there's a glut of information, right? So if you're as a farmer, the information you'd need to know is what the weather's doing, where the water is, what time of season it is, and then what the soil's doing or whatever it is, what you're working with. Yeah. So the requirements now for us to have an empowered relationship to information is really important in terms of being resilient. I mean, one of the things I've been talking about for quite a while is that almost this information, or the macro, is like gravity. It's all pervasive. It's affecting us all the time. Just think on how gravity is affecting your body right now. If you went click, no gravity, you started floating, you'd have a very different experience. So imagine we're constantly bombarded with information in unprecedented data flows.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I mean, like we said, like in 1980s, there was free TV channels. And now there's thousands of TV channels, and I don't know what the latest ratio is of how much content's being created every every cycle it is now. It's like it kind of how do you build a resilience to all that information? How do you then still choose to live your life in an empowered state and in a way that makes a difference and a way that's nurturing and healthy? Because I think that and protecting your mental health.
Yeah.
Because you can, I've seen it, people get, even body language speaks volumes. People's, how they move, how they talk, how animated are they, how ingrained are they, or how guarded are they in their communication, how comfortable or uncomfortable are they in front of people, how free are they to express their ideas in a public domain, or do they only express that, and go back to something that Peter Joseph said again. Like, how comes the science community, academics are not saying what there is to say? Well, they've got tenures, they've got positions, they've got jobs, sponsorship deals. They've got all these things that tie them in. If they actually same with a lot of the big famous celebrities, whether they're pop celebrities, actors, anybody in a prominent position opens their mouth, consequences. So there's this kind of conspiracy of keeping your mouth shut. Don't say anything. And the ones that are saying it, on the whole, are kind of the ones that are kind of they're not bought into the system. They've got nothing to lose in a way, although they have got a lot to lose in some ways. But what I mean is, they're not establishment, or even in your own expression of who you are. How considered are you before you say anything? How free are we to say what we want to say? Sometimes people say to me on Facebook, they say, "Oh, how comes you post this stuff? Don't you care?" Well, one, I don't really care what people think, and that probably isn't true. Because I think we all do care at a level, but I'm not worried about will they like it? I'm okay if they don't like it. I mean, in fact, it's great if they don't like it. If I post something or they challenge me, because it's like at least that's instilled some response. You know, I posted something about voting the other day. You know, what's the point of voting? It's just in my view, it's an absolute waste of time. Instead of voting, let's change the system. And people, well, how are you going to change the system without voting? I'm like,
let's have a referendum.
I'm like, okay, let's.
So going back to resilient, then, is your focus around that being able to give some indicators or indication of how people can survive, be resilient in this world? From, as you say, mental health is a massive, I don't know if it's any more massive than it was 10 years ago, a problem, but it's definitely more aware. People are more aware of it now. And there will be people, and I know young girls who are on Instagram and are having panic attacks because this friend hasn't liked this post, or this friend posted something else about it. And the social media is creating this whole subculture that young girls especially are getting sucked into, so they're being bullied online. And it's like, how do you, I mean, as an adult, you go, well, just turn it off, don't you? But actually in their world, that's the last thing that they can do, so they get sucked into it. So there are adults out there that are reading stuff online and getting furious about it, and sitting at home, waking up at the wee small hours, being absolutely so cross about something they've just read on Facebook or seen on Twitter. And it's like, now to me that doesn't seem normal, doesn't seem resilient, because all they're doing is they're depleting their energy reserves by being so aghast at things, and then they spend all their time responding in order to feel like they're vindicated. And again, it goes back to, I'm right, you're wrong, I've got to say this because you're the worst person in the world. And
well, I mean,
so going back to resilient, is that something that you're looking at within the...
Well, I think I'd kind of answer it maybe a different way, which I probably generally do anyway, but look, it depends what narratives we've been conditioned to believe. So if I put a tick by your thing, or I put a no by it, or I put it, if I do something that says how do you respond to that? I think that comes out of socialisation. I think it comes down to how children and people are nurtured, what conversations they're privy to. In terms of being resilient, that sticks and stones can break your bones. You've grown up, but it was very hurtful when people said horrible things. I remember for me, growing up from the age of 11, 12, going into an all-white school and being called Packy, I became hypersensitive, I suppose, to anything racial. Now I'm the complete opposite of it. People will say something really racial, and I'll be like, it just doesn't...
But that's not your conditioning necessarily, because as a classic example, me and my sister were both bullied at school because of our name. She came home crying, and I was going, it didn't affect me at all. No,
but I mean your own personal condition. But there's macro conditioning, and then there's your own personal experience. Right. I think that's what I was kind of getting at with that story, because that's a very unique story to me.
Yeah.
So kind of, how you then reconcile things that happen in your life in a way that you're left empowered rather than left shaped by it.
Yeah.
Unknowingly. So a lot of that is transformational work, and I think the more parents have done that kind of work, the more they can be like that with their kids, the more their kids can go out with that in their life. But maybe those kids are going to grow up and not have the experience until they're adults at some point. There's that book you read, or a seminar you went on, or a course you went on, or some insight. But I think a lot of that isn't available in the mainstream schooling, the mainstream. I think it's become more and more. I mean, things we talk about, even meditation was thought of as weird, 10, 15 years ago? Yeah. Now you hear about it a lot. I think to me the key to human emancipation, if you like, or fulfillment or empowerment, is consciousness. It's actually the way we think of ourselves today is very different to how people thought of themselves. Like our understanding of who we are and our place. I think even in that talk, Peter Joseph was saying about how even Freud brought this whole observing oneself as a separate entity to one's being. Like you could have, you hear it often there, be the observer. You know, it's watch your game.
Yeah.
But if you're being your game and there is no concept of watching your game, then it is the way it is, and that's the way the world is. And I can justify almost anything inside that context, because who's examining it? You know, so to me, the idea of young people being affected this much by social media or by criticism or other people's bullying tells me that children have they've lost themselves. They've not that they've done it themselves, but somewhere along the line, their guardians haven't really. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of blaming the parents, but also the schooling.
Well, the thing is, I think parents get away with a lot. Everyone points the finger at the teachers and the schools, and I think it starts. You know, kids don't go to school until they're 4 or 5.
A lot of damage is done then.
Yeah.
But you know, I sometimes you see kids that are very. And people say, and I know this is really easy, but people say, "Oh, your kids are so well behaved." Well, that's because of great parents. But it's also the way me and ours are with each other. We don't shout and scream at each other. I mean, we just don't do that. We talk things through. Sometimes they get, you know, we all have those moments. But the children, the people who we call our children, so I think children is a very interesting concept. But they see how we resolve things. In fact, and we also hold them accountable to resolve things. It's like resolve it.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, there's going to be consequences. You know, there are consequences in life. You know, if you cross the road without looking, you may get run over, and you may not make it, kind of thing. No, I don't have to prove that to you. Just go across the road. Yeah. But I think we lead by example, and the way we behave. I mean, look at your kids.
Perfect, obviously.
You know, despite you.
But exactly. The thing is, I mean, going back to kids is, you know, they never heard us say to each other, "Shut up." I would never tell my kids to shut up. You know, it's disrespectful to them as well as for us to be doing that to each other. So it is, as you say, that you learn by what you see.
Well, we do something a bit opposite to that. We tell them to shut up. And we say, "How's that working out?" And they don't like it. So why are you saying it to each other? Yeah. Okay, there's no point in doing it. You know what I mean? Rather than like, don't do that. And then it's just something you can't do.
Oh no, it's not. We never said you couldn't do it. It was just something that we didn't do. Therefore, they did.
Oh yeah.
So if they did have an argument or something with each other, I was like, you know what? This is making me really unhappy. Could you two just go upstairs and sort it out, and then come down when you've sorted? Because I don't like it when you two argue. It really makes me sad. And they would go upstairs, and you hear the door slam, and then come down and go, okay, yep, you're good, okay.
I said, why don't you just go punch her in the face? She goes, I can't do that. I said, well, leave me alone. It's like they have to go. Because I think like, parenting styles. But they don't. No. The point I'm making is they get how it's like, you know, they're like, Dad, this is happening. Like, well, you know, just chill out.
Okay, social services will be in touch.
Yeah, social services, social. So listen, so we've been having a very interesting time. We've got some. Have we got any news? Any news?
Well, you've been around more than I have. I was. Sorry, isn't it interesting? You're talking about resilient, and then what Peter Joseph was talking about in that video we were just watching is look for power within ourselves. And he also said that within his arena, no one was being, I'm responsible. That was a good quote, wasn't it? Yeah. It's like, you know, people need to kind of step up and go, yep, I'll take this, I'm responsible.
Yeah, the buck stops here.
And responsible in every area of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, well that's a tough one for most people, don't they? Because ultimately we want to kind of push it away or blame someone else.
No, it's easy then, isn't it?
It's so easy. Yeah.
I sent the email, that was me, I'm done. You know, it's crazy. So, this week is Essex BeCollaboration. I have no idea who's talking, that may be known.
Is that because you've lost control?
Probably. I think it might be Kay.
Self-organising?
Yeah.
Kay,
I think so.
And who's doing Genius?
I can't remember. I'm rubbish. And then next week is Hertford.
What's happening in Hertford?
We have, Colin is going to be talking about this open space that they're creating for the September London meeting.
Oh, September we're doing it?
Yeah. So he's doing a kind of intro to that. But we don't have a Genius slot at the moment. Oh, I tell you, I was doing the Genius slot in Essex. Sorry, Scott. It's me. Oh, dear. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, we've got it all together here.
I didn't know that. I am prepared. I have got something, honestly. So maybe I'll do Hertford as well. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh.
See how well it goes in Essex. I might repeat the performance.
Fantastic. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just got a nice little... Oh, this was your quote. I just realised that was your quote.
Which one?
Feel worthwhile.
Feel worthwhile. I said that. Oh, I said that. Feel worthwhile. What does that mean?
You tell me.
Yeah, I think it's like, I guess what I'm getting at is you're worthy. You know, it's like, you know, don't have it that what you think and how you see the world doesn't count. It's worthwhile. It is worthwhile. And, you know, sometimes I share information. I go, it's worth your time investing in something. Or if you find something that's really inspiring to you and you want to make that, you know, make it happen, it's worthy of you if it's big enough. And it does stretch you, and I think it's really rewarding. You know, it is rewarding. It always is rewarding, one way or the other. You pull the value out. Feel worthwhile. I like that. Is it worthwhile? Can't even see that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Short and sweet one today, I think. I don't know how long that was, but thank you for watching today's. I don't know what was the heading today. It was meander through.
We did, didn't we? With all sorts of.
I guess the thing was look up Peter Joseph.
Yeah.
Look up Peter Joseph, Zeitgeist films. He's also got a couple of books out that I've not read yet, but I'd love to read actually, which I will do. And also the Culture and Decline series, they're very good. And that's it, that's all I've got to say today.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Okay.